This is a video where I will present the upgrade to my Maximus kit. So as you can see, this is the basic version and this is the main upgrade that turns him into Grand Maximus. Also there is some changes to internals that make it easier for printing and make them function better, but in terms of design and looks, here is the most visible change. Also it won't be visible very much in this lighting, but I also perfected the light piping. So if I can use the light here, and if you look at the Fort Max, you can see that now he has, I'm not sure if it's visible, yeah, I think it is. So there's light piping options, and I think you can also put some kind of light there, so very cool. I'm very glad that this is working. So I will show you how to assemble this new kit and show you the changes I have made. The files are available at Etsy, my Etsy store, so you can buy them, and I may have an option for you to contact you with someone who can print them for you if you do not have a printer. But here is the Grand Maximus. I will show him next to some other figures, but I will be showing his main features after the whole assembly. So let me show you how he looks with some other figures. So here is Grand Maximus next to Black Zarak, my other project that you can 3D print, and official Takara Hasbro Overlord. And both Maximus and Overlord have different configurations on their feet, so they can be made taller or shorter, and I will be showing that later. And also there is an update coming for this figure, but it will be in another video. So let me show you one more setup with different figures. So here is Maximus next to Scorponok and Takara Jinrai or Power Master Optimus Prime with some upgrades that make him look more like the Marvel comic version. So that's it for the figure. Let me remove those two. So when you print this kit, it will look like this. So I have bags with parts. There will be of course instructions so you can see everything, and they are also available before printing, so you can see them on my page, so you can see how this setup looks. But let me put this figure to the side so you can see what are we building. And if I can show you, this is a tray with parts. I will try to adjust the camera so I can be closer to this thing, so I can show you them up close. And also I'll be comparing them to this version, as this is the most recent version and they have some of their parts are not as advanced as this one. So this will be the most advanced figure yet. So I will show you some small changes. So let me adjust the camera. Okay, so in order for me to move freely and them be visible, I had to move in this close, so I'll be probably changing the view from time to time, but basically this is how I will show you the build process. So I will move this tray to the side and we will start the build with the feet. So these are the feet. Of course you do not have to do this in this order, but this is just the order that I preferred. So if you've seen some of my kits, you will see a change straight away, but perhaps let me just show you as I am building it. So this is the 100% scale, but the figures can also be made smaller or bigger, and I'll be showing that later. So 3D printing, from what I've learned, sometimes has some tolerance issues. So depending on your printer, your material, things will not always fit as tight as they are at my printer, because I have two printers right now and I see that sometimes the same files produce slightly different results. So in order to compensate for that, I will show you what I came up with. So the basic setup for this, so the biggest change right now is, let me show you this on the left side. So on the left you can see the previous version, and on the right is the new version. So there's just a small change in the walls that do not affect the functionality, but sometimes when sliding the joint inside, there were, like here, there were cracks present, you see? So when sliding this did not support the structure well, and this did not affect functionality, but it was a slightly visible crack. So now, thanks to this build, the wires are reinforced and there shouldn't be any problems like that. Okay, so it's in focus, I hope so. Let me just check. Okay, should be okay. So the basic build was like you put in, you put in like this, and you slide this part in. So in my printer, my 100% version, it is stiff, but when I tried to print it bigger, it was being loose. So if you have this printed and it is still loose, in order not to print the whole thing, I designed this small part, and this will be a thing in my other projects, that I will just design smaller parts that can compensate. So in order to do that, you just put this thing here and slide this in. So if your joint is too loose, you just have to slightly print this a bit bigger in this axis, and it will push the joint up and make it much stiffer. So this is a workaround, and so far it worked great for things. So like again, put this in, and this is the older part, this is the new part. Just even if this does not fit, it is angled, you can try to reverse it and give it a bit more push. As you can see, you cannot push this as far because the profile is on the other side, so this will give you even more push. So maybe just one print can fit two sizes. So, and it is in, and it is working fine. The orientation of this is so that the flat part is on this, and so is this. And if you try to push this, it can eventually slide out. So usually I put a bit of glue to secure it. It will be tight, but just not to make it annoying. You can just slide it out slightly. Okay, and put a bit of glue here or inside, and just slide it in, and it should secure. Because I am showing this on the camera, sometimes I do not have the right angle, so I may be more cumbersome than I usually am, and it may seem a bit harder, but actually it is very easy. It's just hard to show you in front of the camera and manipulate and record at the same time. Okay, so we have the feet. So let's move into the lower legs. So one change, those parts are almost exactly the same as Maximus part, but as you can see, there's a opening here, and on the Maximus the molding is closed, and my side armor fell off, but that doesn't matter. Those figures are for presentation, so they are not plugged in correctly, and this is because on the Grand Maximus there is this white detail, and I wanted to have this here. And once I do not know if I mentioned this, but I want to thank Tiger Blade Slap, because he showed me that there's this variant of Maximus that I didn't know of, and this opened a really a lot of options for me like this, so thank you. Okay, so for this you just have those cannons. They are blue, but you can obviously print them in any scale you want, and in order for them to fit, you just have to put them like this and rotate, and because of the rotation it pushes on the edges, and it's now working. So this is exactly like the previous Maximus version, so there are no big changes here, so it still works. And this is a side armor that you can plug in here, and it should click into place, but it usually is easy to knock off, so eventually I do place some glue so you don't knock it off. So this is the two parts, and these are the white parts. Eventually I too will secure it with glue, but you can just slide them down and they should lock into place because of this fork is pushing on the sides, and it should help to lock this. But in this video I may knock them off from time to time because they will not fall off, but if you push by holding them they will. Okay, so now let's push those legs inside, and the first time you do it you have to force this all the way in so that this is aligned, and by doing it once it should go in smoothly next time. Sometimes there are problems with this, so that this is too loose, so you can compensate by just adding something here, some slight like sticker or tape. I usually use a slight strip of masking tape because it won't be visible because it is inside of the leg, and there is no problem with that. So now this, and as you can see there are some ports that are not used, and they are over here, and they are here because I will probably be adding some additional functionality in the future, and if you already printed the legs you will have those ports and you will not have to reprint them. So the lower legs are done. Let me see if you can align this because right now they, like I said, I can move them slightly, but you will be able to align them later. Let's just, okay, like this. And now let's do the knees and the upper legs. So I will try to show everything in frame, but eventually I will have to be moving them to the side. Okay, so if I can dig through the, okay, so these are the knees and some parts. Okay, so eventually I changed the knees from the first project, but these are exactly as the Maximus version, the 1.5 I believe version, but I do not think I showed this at my previous video, so I will show you what I did. So maybe I will move them here. So the previous version had the mushroom pack sticking out like this, but in order for this to look good it has to be printed facing up. But when it is printing facing up, this line is the easiest to break, and because the mushroom pack is holding a lot of force when you try to rotate the leg, it could not be done in this orientation. So I am printing this part in this orientation so that the break line goes through here, and it is very hard and almost impossible to break. Also there is a kind of a ratchet joint here because when printing bigger figures, like I said, I wanted to implement some compensation for the tolerances. So if you slide this in, right now in this version it should be very stiff. Now slide this part here. Sometimes you will have to push against some hard object, so I will get one for help in a second. Okay, so I will use this, just put this to the side and just push. You may need to rotate this slightly so that it's okay, and as you can see it pushed in all the way, but there is nothing aside from this friction, there is nothing to make it tighter. So as you can see there is a hole here, and this is printed in such a way that there are grooves here, and this small part is like a ratchet joint because those parts slightly can move. So when you push this inside, it is sticking out a bit, and when you're pushing this part in, it will both make this whole part tight, and it will push the ratchet joint down. As you can see, it now works like a ratchet and it locks into place. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know if it will record, but this is working like a ratchet. And also you can slide in this. This is a back leg filler. Also acts as help to stabilize the alt mode. Come on, focus. Okay, and you may need to push it up a few times so just that it is moving freely. So same for the other leg. Where is the... okay, there it is. So like this again, push this in, slide this bar here. There will be slight bits of plastic falling out, but do not worry. It's usually some leftover parts from the printing process, and you can see it is holding very tight, but for different scales it may not. And the same as before, slide this in and push this in. Okay, and now we have a ratchet, so I'm really proud of this. Of course, it can be further modified. There could be a spring here, but because this is a separate part, you can open it and put a spring in later. So this design is highly modifiable. Is there a word like that? It can be modified in an easy way. Okay, so this is a upper thigh part, and it may be tight at first, so just make sure you move it a few times so that it is. And because this mushroom pack is printed like this, it will not break. And as you can see, I made a mistake because I pushed this by the wrong side, so this should be at the center and it is not. So now I have to push this out. That can be a problem, but actually it's a good thing because I can show you how to remove this. And you can use any tool. It's better not to use a sharp tool. This is a thing that I have from my I bought a phone repair kit, and it has a lot of those like tips. They are not sharp, they are blunt, but you can use a screwdriver, and you just have to shove it in and it will create a lever to push it, and I just rotate it. And so please make sure that this is aligned properly. And now let's again, the lower legs are exactly the same, so it doesn't matter which part you slide in. Just again make sure that once you slide it in, it is rotating freely, so you may have to move it a bit. I could make a plug here so that it is locked, but I do not think it is really that necessary. But if someone thinks it is, it's an easy fix, so you can just make a plug. And one of the other problems I came across when making this part bigger, so let me clean this a bit, is that the hips, so if I can show you on this, I will remove his gun so that it doesn't. Okay, so that this part here, the hips, have to support a lot of figure weight, and also they have some problems with tolerances, so depending on your printer it may be loose, but as you can see there is also kind of a ratchet joint inside, and I will show you how I achieved that. So let me put this down, and inside over here there is a small like opening, and I have those parts here. Come on. So they are like this, and actually I saw this shape when opening Combiner Wars Megatron. I don't know, okay, it's now in focus, and he also had stuff like this. So if it is not tight enough, you can just reprint this part and make it slightly taller, so it adds friction. So you just have to slide this in, and I will help myself with this tool. and just push it down. Okay, so it is inside and it's also easy to remove. It can be different color, but it's just easier to see. It will be hidden anyway, so it does not matter. Same with this. We just put this in and push it down. Okay, so far the parts are very similar, but the main change in Maximus, in the Grand Maximus, is the crotch and the upper torso. So let's move into the crotch part. So this is the crotch part. And actually there are, I made a few variants and I will make them optional. But after I assemble this, I will show you what the other variants are. So let's just put this down. It has to go like this. The inside of the legs goes here, so this should be, come on, focus, like this. So this also has this groove here, so you just have to align everything. Okay, so now this groove is pressing on that part, and you can push this pin inside. It's sometimes easier to slightly move it so you know it's going inside of the proper hole. And if you have troubles, okay, if you have problems, you can just see, okay, see, I moved the hole. And again, it's much easier when you can have it freely in front of you. I just have to show it in front of the lens. And again, just come on, just wiggle it in, maybe like this, push it down. Oh, okay, and now it's, I will not be pushing this all the way now, because when you push it, it is extremely hard to remove it. You have to cut this and destroy this part, but this is far enough for this presentation. So now, as you can see, and here probably, or maybe not, don't know if the camera is picking it up, but there is a ratchet joint that locks it into few positions. Okay, so we have this part. Now the same for this part. The plate is already in. We move this in, we just have to align everything. Okay, it should be aligned, and push this in, and we can also push this down. And I will again leave it sticking out because I do not want to lock it for now. And as maybe this will make the noise. Maybe you can hear it or not, but it does lock in some poses. And you cannot do the full split because the way it is modeled, I do not really care for that, but it's a slight modification. So if you do tell me that this is very important, I can just cut this part, but I just wanted to make it look nicer from the side. So it has this smooth like angle here. Okay, so now we have to slide this in here. It's best to slide it just slightly and rotate it all the way so that all the excess plastic, because there will be some from the printing, is shaved off. And after you do that, as you can see, you can hear some small like cracking noise, but do not worry, it's normal. And you just have to wiggle it all the way up. Okay, and it is almost all the way up. Okay, so it is all in, and same for this part. Actually, this would be easier to push it down, I think, so it's slightly in. I'm moving it all the way to shave all the excess optional plastic, and I'm just pushing this all the way in. And is it all the way in? You have to see if those are flat. Sometimes it may be harder to reach the top part, but I think it's not in yet. So let me just... Okay, so they are almost all the way in, and that's fine for me. And after you do that, because to achieve some poses you have to like slide it slightly down, and this will give you this additional rotation. But in order to look like the show, it just has to be like this. So there is this part, you just put this in. You will have to drill a small hole. I usually prefer to drill a hole and then put a screw in, because it's like, it seems to lock the plastic better than if I mold a hole, but it really does not matter much, because you can just make a screw here and it will prevent this from sliding too far down, and you can both achieve the poses and it will not pop off. But usually I save this for the very end, because sometimes I like to remove the parts and change them. So I'll move this to the side. And one of the optional versions I've made is this version. The crotch is different, but you can see those hip plates are plain. So in some frames I saw it as plain, so I modeled it. But I thought after that there would some detail it's visually better if there is some detail left. So I left this detail. So now we can push this in to have the legs working, but I will not do that now, because in order to show you this in frame I have to, it will be easier for me just, so I'll move the knees down and we can start working on the upper part. As you can see, the knee cannot bend because in robot mode this has to be down, because it covers the back of the leg. So let's move to this upper torso part, and it is here. Okay, so this is the stomach part, and this has the same detail as this one, as you can see, but it is a bit different. I saw the same detail on Maximus, just in a different scale, so I used this part. And okay, so this is a tower part that helps with his alt mode, and come on, focus, and you just have to push this in. I made this tight because it has to be tight, but you may need to shave this part if you have problems, but it also may fit very well. But if you have problems with pushing it down, you can just push it against a surface, but it should work fine like this. And also there is a hole here, and in this tower tip there is also a hole, and you can use a screw and screw this in to secure it. It should click like Legos, but it is also working as a locking point, so if you have problems with this and not holding, you can secure it with a screw. Also there is an opening here for a cockpit version. It can be printed any color. I have tried blue, but this time I will try gray. So you just have to push this in, it should fit. If not, you can use some glue. Okay, so this is a tower part, and you should do this now, because this section because the next part will go on top and lock this. So you have to put this in here, and you just have to push and rotate, and you can see some part that the plastic is slightly making a sound, but it should go in all the way. And once again, it's not that hard as in making it sound, but as you can see, some leftover plastic is falling out. But in this angle I do not have the leverage to push it, but I want to do this in view. So as you can see, I was doing it on an angle, so now I have to compensate and until it is basically mostly flat, and eventually it will go in. Okay, maybe push this like this a bit. Okay, and just keep moving until it fits, settles, and to make a natural, like, the both shapes will make a good connection. I think I am happy with this now. Okay, I will rotate this so it does not get in the way. And those two parts go into the sides. This is my choice for the detail, but I will leave them, or should I connect them? Okay, I will connect them, no, I will connect them later, because I may knock it off at the next stage. So the next stage is this upper torso part, and this is how it looks. There are a bit more parts here, so here it is. Okay, and let me make a small break and I will get... Okay, so let me move this to the side, and this is the main torso part. I also have a lot of development versions that I will show perhaps in the end, and they will be a part of my auction, because I usually sell the first ever made figure with all the alternative versions that I made as an auction to help support other projects. So as you can see, this part, let me get something to help you see better. So this is a part of a different Maximus, and as you can see, this base is very similar, but it has some, like, a big chunks missing, but it is very similar to this whole sections here, and that is because he has sliding side guns. So this is a side part, and we have two guns, blue guns, and two light blue plugs, and also there is like this cover, and I just have to make sure that this is the right size. It is. So the first thing you have to do is put this cover here. So they are slightly different, so make sure that the right one goes into the right part. You may need to slightly separate this to make it fit. And again, it's a lot harder than it actually is, but it should plug in eventually. Okay, so maybe I will show you. The easiest way is to keep pushing parts against something hard. So like this, as you can see, it clicks in, but sadly it's hard to show on camera. Okay, so the next part also, and this one should go in easy now. So I just put this like this and just push it down, because the plastic does bend a bit, and I think it's better to align this so that this outer peg is not connect in, because this is the part that separates the easiest, I mean bends. So come on. Okay, and now it is in. It may be not as stiff on your version, but it depends on your printer, like I said. So this has this profile. So as you can see, it will not fit in this part, but this should. And it is sliding in, and you just have to align this with this tip. And now you just have to slide in this locking part, and you can glue this in. Mine is a bit loose, but it should prevent the gun from just going too far in. Mine is a bit loose, so I will probably be gluing it in the end, but these are the extending guns that will be hidden in his chest. So we have one part here. I usually make extras of some smaller parts like this in case I break them, so these are just extras that I usually do. And same for this gun part, we slide in the cannon, make sure that it's okay here, slide in this part here. Okay, and now we just push those parts in, and this is angled, and so there is also, this is also angled, so make sure that the right side, it can only go into one side, and we just push this in. The same with this, like this, and it should all click into place, and it should be tighter, but I think it's because this part is a bit more loose than I would hope, because if I'm holding this with my fingers, it should be okay. And also there is this opening here, and this is for a plate with the logo. This is like printed out of the logo and can be printed in 2 colors, like in this one. You can see this one is printed in, it's like a more cartoon version, it's printed in 2 colors. If you do not know how, I can help you, because I think every printer can do it. You just have to pause at the right moment and then just continue with a different filament. But let's use just a normal plate for now. It should hold in by friction. If not, then you can glue it in. It all depends on you. Okay, so this is a bit too loose, so I can show you how I compensate those kind of things. So let me get something. So this part is a bit too loose, so if you want a quick fix without reprinting, you can get a piece of, this is a masking tape. It can be any piece of paper really, and you can just like put this in here like this, and it will not be visible, but it will add some friction and make it harder to slide out. Sometimes it may be more than one, or you can try a different side. So let's try it on this side now. Okay, so it shouldn't happen, but this is a good way to show you. And now you can see it's not sliding out as easily. You can add even more to make it more secure. We will do that with this too. So I get 2 strips. You can even slide just a piece of cardboard. It doesn't have to be sticky, just to add some friction. And like I said, it's not necessary usually, but sometimes it's easier just to make this small adjustment than to print everything again, because printing takes time. And most of the parts are designed so that they can be like modified like this. Okay, so the cannons also, this could be more, I think on this previous version it is more tight, so perhaps I use the different plugs, because in this, as you can see, it's not wiggling, so probably this one is more tighter. Okay, so let me push this part to the side again, and it should be okay. So now, and I will have to modify the angle slightly because we are moving up. And now you have to rotate this and be pushing it down so that this whole section locks this bar. So the way I do it usually is just hold with 2 fingers here. Okay, so once again you have to just, same as the other part, just have to push and rotate at the same time. So I think it would be easier if I remove those 2 parts to have better access, but they are in very tight, so perhaps like this. And like I said, it's a lot easier if you have 3. Okay, so you can see, you can hear the plastic just slightly taking shape. Okay, and it is not all the way in, but okay, getting closer. So like this. So it will take some time, but eventually it will form a very nice like bond and be tight and also be secure. Okay, and as you can see, a bit to the side, so you can help by pushing like this. So I think it is almost flat and it is acceptable. And now you can, I think it is a bit to the side, so I'll try to do everything on camera so you can see the whole process and not to cut too much or any if possible. So a bit more, so just it will be really easy for me to just take it in front of me, because right now I am pushing with my hand extended far so that I can wrap around the camera, and I do not have the strength in this angle. Okay, it should be okay. If not, we'll make adjustments later. Okay, so this is like this, and those two side parts plug in to here. So, and this also should be stiff. If not, you can glue this in. And they usually meant to align with this part here, but they have some slight like movement options, so you can move them a bit further if you like. So this is my part of my modified chest, and he has hidden chest guns. And let me clean this up a bit. So this is how it works. And they can of course be hidden, and for comparison this is the chest of the normal version. Okay, so now let's move to the upper part, and this is the upper part, and let me adjust the camera again. There are some parts that will connect to the arms will slide in, so I will connect this now, but I will have to reconnect it to attach the arms in a second. So this is already plugged in, but this is opened, so there can be something stored in here, some like different chest plate or some other accessories. And these are, I usually, looks like I printed two, because I think one of them has warping. Let's see. So this one is flat, and this wasn't also flat, so I just printed an extra, so that's not a big deal. And this part can just plug in here to fill this, to make the detail. And those are the, so I really should cut this part here, but they are meant to plug in here. And I think this, yes, this part is too long, so it will have to be cut. I think I made this on purpose, because when I've made this too short, it distorted the whole object. So in the end, it was easier to just print it like this and cut this after. So like this. It doesn't matter if this is a bit distorted, because it will be inside the object. So just remove some excessive plastic if there is any, and just slide this in. Plug this in, and it should plug in quite securely. If not, you can always glue this in. I think it is okay. Okay, so we have this part here, and this part will slide here with this detail facing front. Yeah, am I losing focus again? I hope not. Okay, should be okay. In detail facing front, so you can, at first time it may be stiff, but you have to just push this in. Okay, so it's like this. And this is a neck piece, and this is an improved neck part. So the previous one did not have this hole here, and it just fits better inside, and it prevents this from acting like a lever and just holds in better. I made this removable because sometimes you may want to pose your figure without the head, so as a handmaster, so it could be posed with this opening, so to emulate that the head is and the neck is missing, that there is a connection inside. And the proper orientation is so that this joint is slightly further back. So, and the back is indicated by this group. This group is for the nail, so you can grab it and slightly you can, when it is in alt mode, you can grab it with the nail and rotate it. It will be visible in the next part. So you can push this in, and it can be tight, so make sure that it is flat. You can help yourself with something like this, but just be careful not to leave a mark. Okay, so it's okay for now. So now, like in the Maximus, you just put this part here, put this part here, and now you can close this part. We do not want to store anything right now, but we will eventually. Okay, and if I adjust the camera, put those both parts here, and in the same time you have to slide both parts. So there's some plastic here, and okay, and it should work like, okay, this one is in and this one is also in, and just move with your fingers and slide them all the way back. Maybe stiff at first, but once you get it all the way back, it will be more smooth. Okay, so this is like this, and this part here covers the front. So we have most of the chest ready, and now this thing can rotate. You can move this slightly up, and it will lock here and prevent something is okay. So you have to just push it so some of the excess plastic is removed, and right now it is locked, and those parts are keeping it stiff. Okay, so we have the lower legs, we have the torso, so we're missing the head and the arms. So let's do the arms next. Arms are over here. And looks like I have them test fitted, so I will disassemble them and assemble them again in a second. Okay, so for the arms, there are some changes to the arms to help with the different scales, and there is this like spring-like object that will be helpful, so I will show you how this works. So and if you want to know why the elbows are constructed like this, you can wait till the end of the video and it will be clear. So you have to push this in with this part facing down, and it may be stiff because this side part is supposed to give friction. So as you can see, I did it before and I had to use some force, and now it is moving freely, but there may be a situation where this is too loose. So if you do not want to reprint everything, you use this part, and it acts like a, as you can see, it is wider, and when we push this in, it acts like a, it subtracts and just acts like a expanding spring. So as you can, if you can hear it, it helps to lock this at every pose. So it is a big help, and you just have to, for now you have to push this other way in because we have to do this visible. And let's do this with the second part, and it is here. As you can see, this part inside also has an opening for a ratchet plate that I showed you with the hips. So this may be an optional thing that you want to just stuff something in there, so it wraps against this and creates more friction. So you just put this in, move this spring-like thing inside, and if this spring is too loose, you can also make it wider to compensate for any like just to print is like 101% in this direction, so like this, and it acts like a helper. Okay, so now we just add this. This is a middle hinge part. Okay, looks like my I ran out of room on my card, so I lost a few seconds. So once again, we just put this thing here, and as you can see, oh, it's the other way around. There are grooves, slight grooves here, and you could put a plate inside, and that plate will rub against this part and work like a ratchet. So in here, so you can put a similar plate and it would just add some stiffness. And once again, remember that those parts are aligned, so the wider part is on the same side. So, and also some of the pegs are longer. There are two kinds, and for the shoulders is the shorter kind. Okay, so we have this. This is done. Let's move to the upper shoulder part. So in the robot mouth, this wider part is outward. So this is the configuration you will have to do. So just this is the outside, and this is also on the outside. If this is too loose, you can stick some paper in here so that it's like adds some friction. But, right now it is very stiff, so I do not have to do this. And this is the shoulder hinge, and I will just put this in, make sure that this is aligned, and it is okay right now. There's also a place for a ratchet plate inside. Let me adjust the camera a bit, so if there will be any looseness problems, you can stick something in there. I will probably make a smile modification to this, so this thing also has this like teeth that can grab, and like this here. And where is the peg? Did I lost a peg? I think I did. So, oh no, there it is. It was on the side. So this thing here, just make sure it is aligned and push it down. Okay, this is the detail on the forearms. You may need to glue this. Those two parts are printed that they are holding there. They're not extra secure, but they have some friction. So as you can see that there is this ratchet sound again. And am I losing focus again? Okay, this part now. So we basically have the forearms done, and now we just have to put this in, and it should go and lock everything, and it's in. Okay, and it prevents this thing from sliding further than it should, because this is now an elbow like this, and you can place the fist. You can just wiggle it in, and of course this is the other one. It's always the other one. Okay, so this is this arm, same for this. And I mentioned this on the Fortress Maximus video, but I will do this again. In order for this arm to look as it was in the comic, because this is based on the comic and in the cartoon, it has to have this small anvil like this, but it only lets you do this like 90 degrees. So in order to make a pose that he is facing up, I made this sliding mechanism here, so you can slide this out, and now you can achieve this, and it really helps with the posing. And again, when you're back, you can just slide this back in, and it's back. So let's attach the arms to the torso. So we have a torso here. Again, I need to move this up. So we have to remove this. Again, remove those two parts, but by first unplug this by sliding them at the same time. So I'm pushing with my two fingers so that they are sliding at the same time. Okay, you can unplug this for now. And this is the right arm, and you just have to move this in, just move it a few times. It's moving quite nicely. And this is a filler that you have to slide in, and this will prevent the arm from moving too much, and it also adds some stiffness. And same with the other side. Okay, so again add this. Can be stiff at first, so you may need to just push it like with something harder. And this part is red. You can make it blue so it fits with the color. It's not really visible much from any side, so I just made it. It was faster for me to print this in red. And now we can slide those two parts with the arms. Okay, and now slide this back in, and we have a big part of the figure done. This can lock. Just make sure that everything is aligned, and something is still not aligned properly, because this should like click into place, but it does maybe this. Let me see if this is slided in, this is in, this is in. Something is, maybe it just need to wiggle it so that any excess plastic is removed, and yeah, and now it's okay. You just have to wiggle it so that the excess plastic is shaved off. Okay, so this is the torso part, and we have a lot of the figure done. We just push those side parts in. Okay, I will not be attaching those lower legs yet, because I want to keep this in the frame. So the next part we will do those two shoulder armors and the ramps. So let me this pink. I just knocked this part of the figure, the forearm armor. Okay, so let me make some room. And the shoulder armor is here. And you can print this in the normal configuration with the detail like modded in and painted. You can print this in red. I made it a version with the opening, and you can print the detail. And fortunately you have to glue this in, because I did not make a peg because this is a really smart part, and it's easy to glue. So just place this and glue. I will do this at the end, but for now let's just move the ramp. So if the parts are loose, I will also make a small opening for Ratchet in here. It's not present in this version, but it should be in the files. And again, let me just push with something stiff. So okay, so in this version it is very stiff. Same with this. This is a very simple assembly, and now we just have to slide this in, and it should attach here. And at first it may be stiff, but it should make a good connection. Because as you can see, it's now part of this part. And if you want more articulation, you can of course remove this part, because it will hinder some movement. For the most part, you can move it. Let me just... You will be able to move it to the back like a cape. But you may want to remove this to have some more movement. And you can slide this. I have to modify it again. You have to slide this part here, and as you can see, the arm can move with this to the side. There is some like force that is like blocking, but it's just friction. So you can just slightly move it to up, and you can have the full arm extension. And I made it so that it can move freely. It can be disconnected at times, but because it can move freely, it can help with a lot of poses. So you can just angle it if you wish. I'm sorry I'm knocking it off, but you get the idea. If you wish, you can have this pose and you can angle it, move it slightly up, and it will just still be connected but move freely on the arm. And now this. Okay, and we'll leave this detail for the end part. And the gun has some new feature. The scope was it was always hard to... Let me just move some parts to the side. It was always hard to make this like fit, and eventually I had to glue this. So right now I made this. It looks almost exactly the same, but this is like a clip. There's an open here and it just clips in. It can wiggle slightly, but it won't fall off, and you can have a gun without the scope and with the scope, and it should hold in. So I'll move this to the side because we have the sword. I think it's Grandmaster sword or something like this, or Master sword. And okay, and let's make some room. So as you can see, I have a few blades and few versions, and one is a prototype and one is just a bit thinner than the other one, and I think this is the prototype version, so this one is no good. But for this one you just have to slide this part into this. You can of course secure it with glue afterwards, but this shape is very fragile, I won't lie. This is because oh, maybe it's the loose one, maybe it was the other one, let me check. Yeah, it was the other one, so okay, quite a surprise. Because this is printed like this, it's easy to break in this direction. So this is like a display piece. I do have a version that is printed flat, and it's like this, and this is like, it will bend, it will not break, it is very hard. So you can, I will add a version that can be printed flat, and this prototype version will be the part of the auction, of course. So, but this is like a display version, but it looks nice. As you can see, it's quite reflected, but if you push it too hard it will break. And I also made a test in a transparent blue material because I like this material, and it's, let me see how it interacts with light. So let me get some light over here. So as you can see, the inner parts are reflective, so you can have this like energy sword effect, or ice sword perhaps. It's very cool, very cool. So I will experiment with this material more later. Okay, so we have the sword and we have the head, of course. And for the head there is a bit more to talk about, so let me just get everything in. I have some extra parts to show you, and this is an assembled head. As you can see, this one has the all blue side wings, or horns, maybe, I don't know how to call it, but and this one has light piping. So in this light, because all of my light is coming from this side, it's not visible, but usually on a display you have your light somewhere like higher up. And if I can just grab, where is it? So as you can see, it can grab, it can be, sorry, it's hard for me to look at the camera and move it. Okay, maybe like this. So I can see it grabs light, and you can even make it like super glowy if you position it in a good way. So this is light piping. There is an option without the light piping, and it was installed on the bigger, and I will show you this. But usually the eyes on the light pipe version are usually the same blue as the eyes on this one, and this is like a normal blue color. So right now those are darker, but usually the way they are positioned, they are similar color. So and this one has white horns, and I will show you how to do this. So I will show you this on this example, and this example has an opening for a light piping. And these are the faces. So let's use this face. It is very hard to print this face because it has very like small walls. So usually I have to print like 5 of them to make sure that none of them break. And I'll be working on some expressions, but the normal shape is like this, and you should be able just to press it in, and you can use those eyes, and they are just regular blue eyes, but you can also use this part here, and if I can pick this one, okay, and the light goes in, there's nothing inside, so the light can move freely, and it just makes the eyes brighter. So if I can just align everything and not break. Okay, so it's now aligned, and again let me get some light up top. It's not working. Okay, it's working now. So now you can see the light shines through, and it makes the eyes brighter. And there is room if you want add a diode in there. Okay, so in order for the horns to be white, they had to be printed separately. So I should have, oh, there they are. Sorry for the mess. And I'll use this mat, and usually it works so that those horns are just plugged in like this, and this front armor is plugged in like this, and I make it the front armor angled, as you can see. The normal version is like this, so it's like a straight line, but this one is angled, so that because he doesn't have a visor, it looks a bit more serious when he is covering the eyes a bit. There is of course a version, the flat version, but this is the version that I prefer, the version with this facing a bit down, and I will have all the variants in the files. So I will show you that configuration. So we will need to use glue for this, unfortunately. So let me get some paper. Usually I just make a drop of glue like this, and just grab this set of horns, let's call it, and just slightly tip it, not too much, and just hold this, and if we can focus, of course it won't let me, and just hold this like this, and this plastic connects very fast and very easily, ABS plastic, at least in my experience. You can hold it steady, and I think I have to zoom out so you can see. Come on, no, I need to. So I had to zoom out So you can see, so once again I'm dipping it and I'm holding it like this. Okay, so just a few seconds should do. 3, 4, 5, 6, and usually it's holding. Those small hairs you see are sometimes left over from printing, so I should have cleaned this up before, but I forgot. And okay, and the same film from the other side. So this is the other side, and we have this. So I'll just get some glue here and just hold it for a second. Okay, I gave the cat some food, so we should have some peace and quiet, at least for a second. Okay, so now it gave us some time for this to dry, and you can try to plug this in. And I think I have, of course I have cat hair here. I think I have some excess plastic here. I think I have to slide this to the side so that the focus works better. So, okay, some excess plastic here, so I will use a blade just to slightly move it, because this is a very tight fit. Okay, so let's see if it fits. And it should be a very close fit, and usually, well, you know what, I will show you what I often do. So I just take a hammer, sorry, not hit the camera. Okay, so let me move this back, and I just very slightly tap it. So this was like almost aligned, like this, and very slightly just, and it should be flat. Okay, and same with this part, just almost aligned, and just gave it a little push, so it's now like this, and it should be holding fine, as you can see. So let's put the face back in and just make sure that it is in. Now put the eyes back in, and now for the forehead, and this is the right one. As you can see, there are some variants, but this is the one that I will use. They work in the same way, but they just are slightly different. Okay, so just put everything in. So yeah, so we have the head, very cool, and we can now adjust the camera a bit and just move the head in. The first time it can be very stiff, but eventually if you move it, and I move the horns too much, so we have to help ourselves with the glue again. So I'm dipping it in the glue and just sliding it back in, and it should grab very fast, and it should be, just let it dry for a second, but as you can see now, okay, it should, if you move it a bit to the side, it should hold, like if you wiggle it a bit, it should move more freely. Oh, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, so I think I forgot the shoulder armor, so for this, let's just remove them. Let's move this guy to the back. Let's adjust the camera a bit. And for this, I will just add a small drop of glue here and small drop of glue here. Just be careful not to add too much. And the detail, this is the right. Okay, this is this one. it should fit into place and not move. And the other one is this one. Same with this, just put this in and it should grab almost immediately. And as you can see there, and I think it's okay, it's done. And because of the way that he was shown in the show, I made a slight variant. This is an optional head configuration that I will add so that you can have this setup if you like. So if you want to compare, this is a regular one and on the left is the alternative one. So what you choose is up to you. So let's put him together and let's see how he looks when he is all there. Okay, so now all that is left is the final assembly. So let's slide these armor parts. I'm using the preferred head with light piping, and now we can just move those parts here. Just slide them in. I probably should glue those in, but I will do that later. And we're in. The gun can store, and you cannot see it, so maybe I have to move the camera back. I hope this is visible. So the gun is very stiff, so some joints have to be moved so that he can stand freely. The gun can be stored in here, and we have to lock this. This was not plugged in all the way. Should be okay now, but again you can secure it with glue if you want. And the gun can store here. You just slide it in and slightly down. Okay, and have this, and the sword can be of course in this hand. There is no place for the sword as of now to store it. And here is your Grand Maximus, and this is an update to Fortress Maximus, this one, and of course light piping should work. Hope it is visible on the camera, but okay. And I will be showing some cool poses with in another video that you would be able to see more of him, more comparison with other figures. But I'd like to show you one cool pose that I think I can try to imitate. So actually he can hold his sword with both hands. So yeah, and this is like an attacking pose with the sword. And this figure can transform, which I will show you. Actually, I'll be transforming him for the first time. It should work exactly like Fortress Maximus. Okay. And everything is sticking up because this is like very stiff, and the joints are just. I have to put everything flat, and as you can see, they are holding their shape very well. So, okay, now it should be flat. Of course, the arm is rotated a bit, so you can wiggle it into place. But basically, this is the alt mode, and I think this is exactly how he looked. And for comparison, so this is Grand Maximus in his robot and alternative mode. Let's call it like a spaceship or a battle station. And for some size comparisons, here is Overlord. I think they are rivals in the story, so this is how they look together. Of course, there is Black Zarak, and I also believe they are rivals. So there is Optimus Prime, which I do not think he will fit in frame. I think he does a bit actually. And let's move him here. So here is Scorponok, and all of the files will be available in my pack. If you already have the pack for this guy, you will get an update with the files, so this way you can be up to date. So and if you choose to purchase those files, you will also have access to future updates, and I will be making a separate video when I will be showing his action poses, his why I chose made some decisions with the shapes and stuff like that to show how he fits with other figures, and talk a bit more about the future. So this was a tutorial of how to assemble Grand Maximus. Thank you for your support, and there will be a link to a separate video when I will be talking more about Grand Maximus and other things. And please subscribe if you want. You can visit my Patreon that I just started if you want to be up to date with my projects, because I made a lot of pictures and I make a lot of prototypes, so this has a lot of alternative versions, and if you want to see them, I will be posting all the in development and prototype pictures on my Patreon. So thanks again, and let's meet at other projects.